Hey kids, this is Ivan. Today I want to go over briefly what I've done with attack bonus, or, THAC0 for somebody of you who haven't acquiesced to Ascending Armor class like I have. But I think Ascending Armor class is a little easier to learn, and don't throw rocks at me if you're a dedicated old school person and think that I'm stupid and THAC0 is the way to go. But that's what I'm doing for the most part. One of the things that I really dug about, I dug a lot of things about Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but I liked the idea, although I think he went way overboard, was the idea that only fighters increase an attack bonus ever, and everybody else just kind of stays static. Now, I thought that ended up making, or I found that ended up making fighters stupid relevant, because all of a sudden they weren't just these like meat shield type guys. Everybody else kind of fought just about as well as they did, because in a lot of other games like First Edition and Basic, you almost wanted to play a cleric if you're going to play a fighter, because they still had really decent attack bonus. But by the same token, I didn't want to like totally restrict the other classes from going up in attack bonus, because that seemed a little silly. Because if you're going to be involved in combat all the time, if you're going to be going up in hit points, which to me represents to a large degree your defensive ability in combat, you ought to have some offensive ability in combat, increase as well. So what I did was this. I took a look at a lot of the tables and whatnot, and figured like, well, how can I make this kind of like that, and still keep fighters stupid relevant? So what I ended up doing was having a fighters go up by one attack bonus every level. Up to a certain point, and I may adjust this high level thing, but right now this is what I'm doing with them. So essentially, fighters start out with a +1 attack bonus right out of the gate, and that may be made better for it by like a strength bonus or dexterity bonus, or by some weapon specialization that they'll get later on, which I'll talk about when I talk about weapons. So from 1st to 10th level, they're going up, on a 1-by-1 basis. So by 10th level, they have a +10 attack bonus. After that, they start getting it every 2 levels right now in my motif. So like, at 12th level, they would be +11, 14th they'd be +12, 16th they'd be +13, 18th they'd be +14, 20th +15, and 21st, should they get up that high, be +16. I may adjust that a little bit, but I'm probably going to cap them out. Even if I go a little bit more, on a 1-to-1 basis, where about +17, +16 is about as good as they're going to get, because that's about where advanced D&D kind of cut them off. As far as magic users go, all the way on the other end, I'm starting them out at a -1 attack bonus, which is really, commensurate with like, how things like, AD&D did it. They really just kind of sucked. And then, from then on, they're not going to increase all that well, because that's really not their forte. They're not really supposed to be increasing, in my mind, in attack bonus. So at 4th level, they'll be at 0 attack bonus. 8th, they'll be, +1. 12th, they'll be +2. 16th, they'll be +3. And 20th, they'll be +4. And believe me, for all the adjustments I made, I took a lot of flack, mostly from the old school gamers, who thought I was just, it was heresy. But, I don't care. As far as clerics and thieves go, or specialists or rogues, whatever you want to call them, my idea was to keep them at about half the attack bonus of fighters, for the most part. And I like to have clerics, if one's going to advance prior to the other one, I'd like it to be the cleric, simply because I always like the vibe of a cleric as a holy warrior. The guy that didn't quite fit in his regular temple or church, and they said, hey, look, why don't you go out and kill some stuff and tithe, to the church or temple or what have you. So clerics actually start out with a 0. At 2nd level, they go to +1. At 4th level, +2. 6th level, +3. 8th, +4. At 10th level, it's +5. They have like a 3 jump at this point, just to keep up with the fighter, and the half basis. So they get a +6. At 16th level, they get a +7, and at 19th level and up, they get a +8, which is where they kind of max out. So yes, fighters max out at about +16. And the thief, on the other hand, they also start at a 0. At 3rd level, they get a +1. 5th level, +2. 7th level, +3. 9th, +4. 11th level, +5. 14th, +6. 18th +7, and 21st +8. So they're just a little bit behind the cleric in terms of that. And I did a lot of that not just by level but by XP gain, because of course the thieves are going to have a faster rise in XP than the clerics do. So most of the stuff I did with attack bonus and some other perks and bennies that the classes get, I did by XP level. I'm assuming that mythical party where all these 4 classes start all at once and nobody dies ever. So, where would they be at any given moment in time based on their XP, and not so much on their level. Their level would be secondary, like that's when they're going to get the goodies, but, what's their XP like? And I think this works out fairly well because I still really, really like the idea of fighters being really, really made relevant and coming to the forefront in terms of combat by the fact that their attack bonus goes up so well compared to the other classes. And I found that much more satisfying than the old motif where they're maybe like 2 or 3 ahead of everybody else, because at that point they just don't seem as special as, to me, fighters should. So that's what I'm doing with the attack bonus. I may tweak it just a little bit, but that's my basic idea.